Hello and welcome to Bella Riosa Cooking with Injuries. Today we're going to be making a breakfast muffin. So the idea of this is it's a convenient little muffin that you can make maybe the night beforehand or such, so that in the morning when you're rushing around, running out of time to have a breakfast before you have to maybe leave the house or something, you've already got something nice and healthy made so that you don't have to buy breakfast on the way out. Now, for this, we've got all the ingredients here. Now, we're quite aware that the microphone is in shot, but we're trying to go playing around with the sound quality, and that was the best that we could get the sound. So we decided to go for sound over aesthetics. Now, with my recipes, because of the injuries that I've had, I actually try to convert everything into grams so that I can weigh them out on scales. Normally I would be pouring all these directly from the packets and to cut down on dishes, because then you just end up with the bowl to wash. So to start off with, we're going to put in 130 grams of rolled oats. So that's 2 of these. Then we're going to be adding, it's 170 grams of full fat milk. And the recipe is going to be in the description below, but I've also got the full recipe here. Now for this, I'm just going to mix it in a little bit just to hydrate all the oats with some of the milk. From here, we're going to do 1 egg. Now, for people that are really talented, you might be able to crack your egg straight into there. I'm not so much, so I'm going to crack my egg into a different bowl because I often get eggshells, and I know they say to do it on the bench, etc. Whichever way I try, I always end up with eggshells, so just going to do it straight into, see, already an eggshell. That's easy enough for me to pull out. Okay, drop that in. Put that aside, let's have a look. Okay, no other eggshells, so that's a good start. And I'm just gonna whisk that up a little bit and pour it in. Okay, now from here I'm going to also add 75 grams of honey. So just watching my scales, it's saying I've got 33 so far, 47, it's 56, 64, so just a little bit more. We're at 70 and 75. So the thing with honey is if you're deciding to try to do a no refined or artificial sugar, honey recipes do count as a substitute for that. So this would be actually classified as a no sugar recipe, even though we do know honey is basically pure sugar, but it's a different type. So I'm going to move that aside just so that I can get a good little mix into that. Now with these ingredients, it doesn't really matter the order you put it in. Now the other thing that would have been helpful is if I had have started the oven of preheating it to 175 degrees. I personally, with injuries, am a fan of using these toaster ovens or benchtop oven because it is actually at bench height. So I'm not leaning over, I'm not bending over. So it's actually, for me, quite handy. Obviously, it functions the exact same as a full convection oven. So still 170 in a full oven will do the trick perfectly. You don't need a toaster oven for it. It's just convenient that there's a toaster oven right here. So mix that up And the next thing is we've got 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Drop that in. 70 grams of raisins. Now this is the stage I really want to mix it in, because the bicarb, if you don't get the bicarb, which is the next ingredient, fully mixed in, it's not so nice. So I want that nice and mixed. And the very last ingredient is 1/2 teaspoon of bicarb soda. So in this recipe, the bicarb soda acts as the raising agent, so that's why it's not quite as dense, but still a dense muffin. So we'll mix that in. Okay. And this little recipe of just a couple of ingredients is going to make 6 of these muffins. So one of the reasons why I was always looking for a breakfast muffin myself is I've had a plethora of injuries. One of my injuries was a lower back injury. And for anybody who's had a lower back injury, you might be aware that one of the most painful periods of the day can actually be that very first moment that when you wake up, when you actually hop out of bed and your feet hit the ground. Because that very first time that the feet hit the ground, for myself, I would get an electric shock the whole way through the body. So often when I would wake up, I would be like, oh, okay, not ready for it yet, not ready for it yet. And I would just stay in bed a little bit longer, delaying, hopefully meaning that when I would get up, it wouldn't be quite so painful. As a result, I ran out of time to have breakfast before I was off to work. So then I would go and buy a muffin, really big, dense muffin, which had chocolate in it and sugar and all this other stuff in it. And as a result, I also kept increasing the weight. Now, I know a lot of people, it's not about a body positivity or anything like that. But for myself, what it was is with a lower back injury, every extra kilo I put on increased the level of pain. So that's where I really just wanted a muffin that I could grab, that I could cook beforehand, cook in the evening when the pain was at the least, and in the morning I'd be able to grab it, run out the door, and it would be all ready to go. So that's where the desire for this sort of recipe went. Now you may look at this and go, that's quite a small muffin. But because it's all oats, it's very dense. So that with a cup of tea was enough for me. You may find it not quite enough and want 2, but just see how you go. Now I'm going to go grab some patty cakes to put this into some patty cakes. So I've got my cupcake tin with some patty cakes. If you're making this regularly, you may want to buy a silicone cupcake holder, because then obviously not the paper each time. I haven't found where my silicone one is at this present moment, but I'll get to that shortly. So right now I'm just going to divide this into 6 cupcakes. One handy thing about this recipe is it's all hand mixed, so you actually don't need to pull out any big mixing devices, which means that the wash up is actually quite nice and easy as well. Obviously with oats I'm going to soak the bowl first so that it doesn't come glue. Okay, so put that bowl aside. Just even these out a little bit. And there we have it. To me, these cupcakes look pretty even. Now I did get one spilt, so let's and now they're ready to go in the oven. And there we have it now after being in the oven for 25 minutes at 170. They're ready. So let's just pull them out and check. Oh, they're looking and smelling amazing. Okay, just gonna close that back up. Now let's test them, see how they are. Oh, they look pretty cooked to me. Fantastic. Now, these definitely taste a lot better when they're cooled down, because when they're nice and hot, we'll pull one out. You'll see they really stick to the paper towel and you lose half of it. Whew, that's a bit warm. That's very warm. But the other muffin that I showed you at the beginning, see, lost half of it. But this other muffin that I showed you at the beginning, I made this about 4 days ago. So it's literally comes like this once they cool down. And as you can see, when I pull them off, do not lose most of the muffin to the paper. And then I will break that in half. And that is that's what it looks like after 4 days. And this one, that's going to be nice and warm. That is what it looks like fresh out of the oven. So I am now going to take my muffins, take my cup of tea and go and enjoy a nice savoury breakfast muffin. Enjoy. Thank you for spending time with Bella Riosa Cooking with Injuries. Let's take a bite of this. So good. Unfortunately, I took too big a bite and dropping my sultanas everywhere. Yum. So it's a very nice savoury muffin, which pairs very well with a cup of tea. So good. So as I listed, this is the ingredients list. They are listed in the metric system. So if you have a look in the description below, I'm going to outline this in the metric as well as the imperial system. I will obviously have to use Google conversion for the imperial system because this is the way I know. And it was cooked at 175 degrees Celsius for 25 minutes. So as I say, all in the metric system I outlined. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful day.